Remember searching SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Single Muslim Live here on British Muslim TV, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com. I'm Fahima Mohammed, your host for today, as well as a relationship and couples coach. I want to welcome all of you on behalf of British Muslim TV and myself to everybody who is streaming tonight, wherever you are around the globe, and whether it's live on Sky Channel 752 or Facebook or Twitter, welcome. And inshallah, we're going to have an amazing episode tonight. It is something that is really, really close to a lot of people with regards to what they're dealing with. And just a warning, a trigger warning for the topic for tonight. I just want to also add from the beginning of the show that actually, if you are impacted in this way, for anything, for any reasons, in a negative way, if you are triggered, we do have a support line here on British Muslim TV, and you can contact us on BritishMuslim.tv/support. I'm really excited for my guest tonight, and I want to basically first introduce the topic because I went straight into giving you the information about what is it that we're going to speak about, and that is the epidemic of narcissistic abuse. We hear that word a lot, and we want to try to understand it tonight. And if you have any questions, it would be absolutely amazing to hear you call in, and you can do so. The number is at the bottom of your screen. It is 01924 231 083. And please do ask the bill payer for their permission, as standard network rates do apply. If you want to message us anonymously, you can also do so with the free WhatsApp service. And that number is also at the bottom of your screen and will remain for the rest of the evening. And that number is 07585 835 150. I have a very, very experienced guest tonight to talk on this topic, and I hope that we all can welcome her really warmly. Today we have Warisa Zainab. Assalamu alaikum, Warisa. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam, Fahima. Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me today.
It is an absolute pleasure to have you, because I know how experienced you are and how much you work around mental health. And this topic is really, really something that we do need to dig deep into. We use this terminology a lot of the times quite loosely in some moments as well, just because if there was a bad relationship, for example, and people may be accused of, being, part of that trait. So let's just clear it out tonight. Let's just really go into it and discuss what does it actually, mean when we say this person's a narcissist. Can you maybe describe some of the traits of a person who is really falls under this kind of label?
Well, first we have to distinguish between narcissistic personality disorder. That comes into different clusters of psychological disorders and different kinds of personality disorders. For example, when we talk about high conflict people or high conflict person, so this person could either be a narcissist, an antisocial personality, a histrionic personality, or even a sociopath or a psychopath. But when we talk about narcissists or people who show tendencies or traits of narcissism, these people are not pathological in the sense that they are conscious and they are well aware of what they are doing to others. And they are quite in control of their actions and their behavior. Because what they tend to do, for example, a covert narcissist does behind closed doors is something hidden from the rest of the world. So in front of the world, he could, or he or she, I'm going to use the term he today because most cases of narcissism are predominantly seen amongst males. So they can be very approachable, charming, they appear to be really friendly, grounded people, but behind closed doors with their partners or spouses or family members or children, they show their true self. They should reveal their true face. And there are loads of traits, loads of characteristics that you can look at and determine whether this person is a narcissist or not. But today I'll only talk about a few of them because obviously we have limited time. So one of the key indicators, or as I call it, red flags, whether you are getting into a relationship or considering someone for the purpose of marriage or engagement, or maybe it could be one of your parents who is showing these signs or behaviors. So for narcissists, the world revolves around them. Other people are only two-dimensional, meaning that narcissists can't empathize. So they're in their own reality and see you as an extension of themselves just to satisfy their own needs and wants. So you see this element of self-centeredness, yeah? Your feelings, your emotions, your needs, it's meaningless to them. They don't care. All they care about is themselves. And some narcissists, they are really skilled communicators, yeah? They will appear on social media. They are public figures, celebrities, politicians, and they appear quite like approachable and powerful kind of personalities. But behind closed doors, it's a different story. Only their immediate family or spouses or close friends know what they're really about. So another trait is arrogance. So narcissists feel superior to other people and can be rude or abusive when they don't get what they want. And this is why we have seen a sudden increase in cases of narcissistic abuse during lockdown. We talk about the pandemic, but we don't talk about the hidden epidemic of narcissism that has increased around the world. And the victims or people on the receiving end are the ones who suffer the most because it's difficult for them to go and talk to someone about it, especially if this person, this narcissist, appears in front of the world as a very nice person, somebody that most people like to go to when they have a problem. So they know that nobody is going to believe the victim because everybody knows what a nice person I am because they have the capability to show that or portray themselves in front of rest of the people. So I'm sure, Fahima, you have heard from clients saying that, oh, he only gets angry or violent or aggressive when he loses self-control. They don't lose self-control. It's not because they are alcoholics or drug users. I mean, there is no direct connection between abusive behavior and being somebody who uses substance or alcohol or has lost a job or anything. They are in control because if they have full control over themselves and they don't hit their boss at work or a fellow work colleague, but it only happens with intimate personal relationships, then of course they have control over themselves. And
would you say, sorry, Warisa, would you say that, do you think that some of them have either a split personality or a double life? Because I know there's a difference. How would you describe it?
Yes, I would say double standards, or as they say, you know, the saying, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So it's not they have two personalities. It's just one person who is very well capable of acting differently when people are watching him. And he can be himself when he's behind closed doors with his spouse or partner or child. And they love to surround themselves with people who are quite influential and powerful figures just because they love that kind of attention. They're attention-seeking people. They love attention, and they'll go to any lengths to get hold of that. They also feel entitled and privileged than an average person. So this trait is a giveaway, actually. It reveals how narcissists think they are like the center of the universe and everyone should be submissive around them. And they not only believe they're special and superior to others, but they also they feel they deserve special kind of treatment. And that that rule doesn't apply to anyone else but them. So you will hear them saying, do as you're told, do as I'm telling you to do, don't do as I do. Because for them, it's okay to commit a sin or a crime or break the law or do whatever they feel like. But the person on the receiving end, or the person who is in a relationship with this person, is not allowed to express anger or feelings of hurt or grief, because they feel they are the only ones who should be able to express and no one else. So for people who are in a relationship with this person, Fahima, it's going to be really painfully one-sided relationship, because the person is constantly giving unconditional love, attention, care, what have you. And the narcissist is only taking it from them and not giving anything in return. So narcissists are only interested in getting what they want. Bragging and need for admiration is another trait that they have. And the feeling of superiority that they have, it actually originates from the insecurities that they have. And this is why they need constant validation, appreciation, and recognition, whether it's in their job or work that they do or in their personal life.
Now, I love what you've said so far, and we are going to continue with this, but we are coming towards a break. I think you've highlighted so much already, and the main points and the takeaways so far is the fact that they are seen in the public eye or with their colleagues or peers in one way. So that is something that we do need to be aware of. And I think it's a really good start that we actually started this conversation with regards to describing a narcissist, because it's not really that obvious to a lot of people. So that's why when you said as well that a lot of people that may come, the victims of a narcissist may come for assistance, they may not necessarily be believed. I think that's a really important point, and we do need to make that very, very clear. Again, I do want to say that this show and this episode, in particular tonight, may be triggering for quite a few of you. And I do recognize that, and British Muslim TV are here to support you if you do feel that you do need the extra sort of guidance, and if you want to speak to somebody with regards to this topic. And if you want to do so, you can do by contacting British Muslim TV, and you can do so by calling them on BritishMuslim.tv/support. And hopefully, inshallah, we will see you in a short while after the break to continue this conversation, because we have so much more to discuss and so much more to open up. And we've only given you a small introduction, but inshallah, you stay where you are, and we will see you in a few moments. And hopefully we will address more questions.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live. With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Single Muslim Live here on British Muslim TV, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com. We are continuing with a very, very important topic today with regards to narcissistic abuse. It is real, it definitely exists, and it is totally different to the disorder that some people may have. We're talking about the traits that a lot of people do have, and we are obviously going to be relating it to relationships, because that is the one major sort of impact that people sort of recognize with narcissists within their relationships. Now, Warisa, when we were talking about before as to them having this front and this amazing front, do you not think that actually that's the reason why so many people may actually be attracted to that? And that's the problem. And how can we go around it? Like, how can we address something like this for someone who is actually attracted to a narcissist? Because these are the traits that a lot of people might look for, someone who seemingly is powerful, in control. And, even that control factor at the beginning of a relationship, you don't mind it as much. It's only when you have to live with it that it's actually a problem. So what kind of things would you advise and guide someone? Or is there even a guidance for someone to even find out if this person really is their true self, if they are appearing in one way and then behind the scenes, behind closed doors, they're another?
So there are multiple aspects. I mean, within this question of yours, there are so many things that we can consider. For example, first thing is to trust your gut instinct, especially if you're forming new relationships or you're considering someone for the purpose of marriage, or if you are already in a dysfunctional family where one parent, could be the mother or the father, is a narcissist and shows traits of narcissism. So like earlier on, I was giving examples of some of the red flags that we often neglect, ignore, or maybe our built-in radar tends to kind of get jammed, and we deliberately, consciously overlook these red flags. Why? Because the love bombing in the initial stages of the relationship, when the person is getting to know you during the courtship period, maybe bringing you gifts and flowers and chocolates and what have you, taking you to places that you really like and love, you tend to feel that even if there are certain things about this person that I'm not comfortable with, just ignore them, because look at the other things that this person is doing for me. And this is one of the tactics that they use, which is also known as love bombing. And in this phase, in this stage, the narcissist is trying to bait the prey, the victim. So just like when you go for fishing and you put the bait and the fish gets in the hook, that's the initial stage of the relationship where they are going to be in their best behavior. Why? Because they know if they reveal their true identity, if they reveal their true face, nobody is going to like them. Nobody is going to get close to them or trust them. So in order to build trust of the victim, the person they want to manipulate and control, because that's the main thing that they want to do, control and manipulate. Because narcissists put their needs first. They will manipulate you with flattery, belittling, or even threats if need be. And their lack of empathy makes them do things that, for somebody who has empathy or mercy or compassion, for that person, it's really hard to accept and acknowledge that this person could ever do something horrible. And this is why people who get involved with a narcissist after the formed trust with this person, after the love bombing phase is over and they actually get to see the reality, they realize that this person is highly controlling and manipulative. And when you try to complain about their behavior, if you dare to speak against the things that they're doing to you or your loved one or your child, even your pets, then they play the victim. So they will portray themselves as you provoked them to do this, or they are not like this, but you're the crazy one. And this gaslighting, this is another terminology I'm using. Gaslighting is another thing that they do in relationships, where the person who's on the receiving end, the victim, the codependent, for example, personality, if they say something to the narcissist, he will twist and turn the statement and make it sound that you're the crazy one and there is nothing wrong with them. Because for a narcissist, they can never be wrong. Remember? You're the one who's wrong.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting that you're saying that. The thing is, we've obviously identified a few of the traits, and I know there's a whole list, but obviously because of time, we can't go through all of it. Now, do they have a specific sort of type that they would go themselves? Like you said already, they go for people who maybe have more empathy and compassion. Is that one of them, or are there more types of people? Like, would they go after somebody who is probably more vulnerable, just come out of a relationship, for example? How do they choose the kind of people that they would actually want to go for? So that also is an indicator as well.
So they are quite clever when it comes to picking their prey, as I call it. So they know exactly who is going to succumb to their needs, who is going to do as he tells them to do. So they kind of test their waters in the sense that they will observe you closely and see whether you fulfill their needs, whether you're somebody who can be easily manipulated. And like you said, there are people who are vulnerable in the sense that if you're coming from a dysfunctional family where one of your parents is a narcissist or shows traits of manipulation and control, or you've come from a family where you as a child never got the attention, love, and care that you deserved, and you were neglected as a child, or you had a really harsh upbringing and you were abused as a child, then chances are that in your adulthood, you will attract a partner who has similar traits as your parent, the abuser, the controller, the manipulator. So you will see lots of people who become their targets, as in the targets of a narcissist, are ones who are codependent, meaning these personality types are the ones who find it very difficult to set healthy boundaries. They find it really difficult to say no to somebody because they want to please everybody. They want to make sure everybody is happy with them, even if that means they have to compromise on their own needs and their own like self-care they have to compromise on. Because codependents or empaths are people who are kind and generous and helpful, and sometimes they go out of their way to provide that to people, and then people who are narcissistic advantage of that, of their kindness and compassion, because they are looking for people who can be easily manipulated. Because abuse, Fahima, is all about power and control. You cannot control somebody who doesn't wish to be controlled. You can only control somebody who can be easily manipulated into submissiveness. And unfortunately, you see in our culture and in many cultures, it's often the woman who is supposed to be submissive to the needs of her husband. Whether the husband is aggressive or violent, she's supposed to show patience. And by patience, again, this is a twisted definition that we tend to use around patience. Suffering in silence is not patience. Tolerating abuse is not patience. Islamically, we have like hadith and ayats of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and even the Prophet has taught us how we should form healthy relationships, whether you're allowed as a spouse to mistreat someone, hurt someone, because a healthy relationship is one where everything is in balance. But when you have a master and slave relationship where one person is getting all their needs met, but the other person's needs are being neglected, and when they say something, when they speak out, they're like subjected to gaslighting, and their needs are not taken into account. And you see this in relationships with a narcissist that sometimes they even cheat on their partners. So they will be having like a secret affair, and when the spouse or the wife finds out, they will again twist the whole story and blame it on the person, saying that you're imagining things and you're suspicious. And although they are the ones who are suspicious and insecure, sometimes lots of narcissists, they'll put like a certain device on your car just to monitor where you're going, who you're meeting with, who you're talking to. They want to know all your passwords. They want to know what conversations you're having with your friends, and they control your moves, where you go. Your money is not like your money. When you're with a narcissist, there's financial abuse where they take all your money from you, so you're financially dependent on them completely. They don't allow you to go out, meet family, friends, go on holidays on your own or with your friends. They'll use your family members against you. They'll use your friends against you, because they want to make sure that they are the ones who are in control. And you often see the reason they do this is because in later life, they know somehow, somewhere, if my wife finds out or my partner finds out, then she might go and tell people or call for help. And I don't want anyone to believe her. So I'm going to portray an image of myself who is a very caring, charismatic, down-to-earth, God-fearing person who's very altruistic and is involved with a lot of charity organizations, so that nobody believes the victim. So
powerful what you've just said, Warisa, because it really does show the amount of effort that a person who has this kind of way of being has to put themselves out so that they can actually have it behind closed doors one way, and also save face in front of, public or, their exterior family and friends. When it comes to this, do you think that our communities are prepared to handle this kind of abuse? Because in our Muslim community, like you said, it's quite traditional, and some of the traditional ways can actually fall into people accepting and tolerating this. What would be your advice? I mean, quickly before we go into a break, because I really want to get this question in, like, do you think that we are prepared? And if not, what do we need to do to prepare ourselves for this?
So one of the things we have to look out for is the fact that these people, every time they give an explanation or reasons behind the behavior, they're merely excuses, okay? And they are chronic pathological liars. They're very good actors. They can be anything they want to be in front of the world. And I'm talking about covert narcissists. Then we have the overt narcissists who don't only do this behind closed doors, but they'll do it openly because they have a I don't care attitude. And they are fearless in the sense that they don't fear God, they don't fear the community, they don't fear any law enforcement agencies. And you see that a lot
will be addressing more of this before we actually go to a break. And to be honest, you know, you've said so much so far. And again, I have so much more questions for you. I will be reading out some of the messages as well when we come back. So please do stay tuned. And inshallah, we will see you very shortly after the break. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live. With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Single Muslim Live here on British Muslim TV, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com. I'm going to go straight into this because Warisa, you've given us so much food for thought already, and I've got even more questions for you. The thing is, we've discussed a little bit about the traits. Now, what is it that someone does when they're actually in this relationship? Do you think that they notice it straight away, or does it take a while? And regardless of that, what are they supposed to do if they are now living and married to a narcissist?
You know, the sad thing is, Fahima, that I've seen clients who have been married for 20, 30 years without even knowing that they're in abusive relationships, without even knowing that they're married to a narcissist. I've seen people who were not married, but they have a parent or a sibling who's a narcissist. And having one narcissistic individual in the family creates pathology within the entire family unit. And it's something which is passed from one generation to another. It's a form of a transgenerational trauma that you carry from your childhood to your adulthood. So like I mentioned earlier on, that as a child, if you were subjected to neglect or abuse, or you had a parent who was a narcissist, then you're going to come up with a type of personality that's going to draw narcissists towards you in future relationships. And you often see that people don't heal from their previous relationships and they suddenly move on to the next one, and then it's a disaster, and then they're left thinking, oh, what went wrong, you know, because you have to do a lot of work on yourself. And one of the issues that we have, one of the major red flags, is the fact that if you're with a narcissist, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist and you're living with him, you and your children are the only ones who know, because you are the one who has seen the true colors. Others will think they are the nicest person in the world, even though they are used for money, resources, and attention. They won't care because he or she strategically distracts them with shallow praise, you know. Even psychopaths are able to maintain superficial friendships far longer than the relationships because people don't really know them. And living with such a person is, you know, there's another term which is called like living with an emotional predator or an emotional leech. They suck all your emotional energy out because the person who is living with them There are different phases. So you have to carefully look at the pattern to recognize it, first of all. So there's a pattern. So the love bombing stage, where they are praising you and saying things to you like, oh, you're the one I've always wanted, you're the answer to my prayers, and you're the only one who understands me and nobody else does. And then they, after the love bombing stage, after giving you like what you want, or making you pleased with them, there's the discard phase, where they go like cold emotionally. They give you the cold shoulder. So there's no communication, sometimes ghosting, stonewalling. So by that I mean you're literally speaking to a wall. Yeah. They don't listen. They don't want to know anything. They don't care about your needs, your feelings, your emotions, or the child's. So most narcissists, they'll have children, but for them, having children doesn't mean anything. In fact,
what would you do then? What would you do, Warisa, if you're in the situation? What would you advise somebody who is now already in that situation and they have realized that the person that they're married to, regardless of however long, is a narcissist? Can that narcissist actually heal?
Okay, so that's a very good question, because most women, yeah, and even men, they feel that they can change and reform the person they have married, and through their unconditional love and attention and care, they will make this person understand how much we love them. They don't have empathy. So the first step is acknowledgement. The first step that you need to take towards your own healing journey is acceptance of the reality. By that, I mean that you don't just accept that you're married to someone or you're living with somebody who is beyond reasoning. You can't reason with this person and this person is never going to change. But you also have to accept that no matter what you do, no matter how much you give in to your relationship, this person is never going to change. Why? Because one, they don't want to change. Two, they don't acknowledge that there is anything wrong with them. And three, even Quran says that Allah says in the Quran that He will not change the circumstances of a person unless and until that person takes the first initiative to do so. So, for example, if somebody comes to you and says, okay, I know there is a problem in our relationship, we need to go and seek marital counseling. These people, first of all, will never go for counseling or any kind of therapy. And even if they go to a therapist, the way they portray themselves, I read this somewhere, that it's like a unicorn standing in the driveway. They appear to be so innocent and harmless, and they'll play the victim in front of the therapist. And often, if the therapist is not trained in narcissistic abuse recovery, the therapist will end up telling the victim that you're being unreasonable. He's such a nice person. He's really trying. He just can't help it.
That's unbelievable. I mean, what you're describing is really, really dangerous. And it's actually something that people really need to take very, very serious. And the next steps of that as well, with regards to their future choices and what it entails. But when you're in a relationship for so long and you've got so much of investment, what would be your guidance for it? Because, I mean, what is the impact of carrying on in this relationship and staying with it? I mean, we're not here to give specific advice because it's a case-by-case study. And at the same time, we are generalizing. But this is the overall sort of ways in which people do come across. This is how they treat it. This is how they treat others. So what would be the general consensus when you are faced with a narcissist in a relationship? How would you tend to, in your opinion, address them or make the next steps and make the next choice? What would you do? So
any person who is in a relationship with a narcissist or living in a family where there is a narcissist and they're making their lives hell, because living with a narcissist is living in hell. And first thing you have to do is accept that you're dealing with an ultimate hypocrite, a pathological liar, and somebody who has no moral compass, no consciousness, no empathy, no compassion.
Are you saying there's never any hope for them then?
Fahima, even when you talk about narcissistic personality disorders, it's one of those disorders that cannot be treated as such. Like, if you look at the stats, you'll be surprised and shocked. For people like us, it's very hard to comprehend how their brain works, how they don't have any empathy, feelings, anger. Like when I say anxiety, not anger, sorry, or fear, whether it's fear of God or anybody else, because they're so full of themselves. So the person living with them, they need to ask themselves, what's more important, your safety, your well-being, or the safety and well-being of your children, if there are children involved? Because often you see that if you're married to a narcissist, they will like treat you in the most inhuman way. Even throughout pregnancy, women have been subjected to abuse because they are at their most vulnerable state when they're pregnant. Or a woman with a child whose attention is focused on the upbringing of the child. Narcissists can't stand that. They get jealous of their own children. They get jealous of their spouses if they're focusing all their energy on the child, because they want to be the center of attention, remember? Nobody else, not even their own child. They'll be more than happy to throw their child under a bus if they have to, just to get attention and what they want. So for your safety, your well-being, especially if there are threats involved, if this person that you're living in has given you threats of hurting or harming you, your child, even your pet, or if this person is dissociating you from your loved ones, your family, your social circle, if this person is controlling your every single move, it's going to affect your physical health first. And then it's going to mess up your mental health completely, because we often don't understand the consequences that a person faces while living in a relationship like this. When you're constantly being belittled and hurt and threatened, you're walking on eggshells, Fahima. And
it's funny you say that, Warisa, because we actually had a message on Facebook, and a lady did actually message saying, unfortunately, I'm living with one and there isn't a way of dealing with it. They never change because I'm now lost, and I've got no self-esteem or confidence. My mental health is ruined. And the worst thing of all is even my iman is very low. So what you're saying is the reality of even somebody who's actually related to that. And this is the kind of messages, unfortunately, that is out there when you are dealing with a narcissist. Now, can somebody who is a victim of, narcissistic abuse can actually recover and heal? And what would be the steps for them to now hopefully heal? And what would be the first thing they need to do as well? Would it be to get out of that relationship, no contact? What would you recommend?
That's a brilliant question you asked, Fahima. No contact. They say that you can't have closure with a narcissist. Mm-hmm. For example, if you have a friend or a family member, a work colleague, and you don't get along with them, and you're like, you know what, let's just agree to disagree and just back out, With a narcissist, you can't have a reasonable, logical conversation. So you can never have closure. So when it comes to ending the relationship, your relationship has ended long time before you even realized. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When you leave an abusive relationship, you're not leaving. You escape. There's a difference. Wow. In normal relationships, we're not compatible, or for whatever reasons, it breaks up. But when you're living with an abuser, whether your life is at stake, your physical health is being subjected to, you're compromising on your physical and mental health. There are victims who are thinking about suicide because they feel there is no way out. There are people who are self-harming because they have no other outlet to get rid of this pain. It affects your spirituality. This is why it is known, narcissistic abuse is known as rape of the soul, rape of the emotion, because it really does impact your spirituality. You start questioning your faith. You start questioning
as we are coming to another break, I just want to say that, again, if you are triggered by this, please do get in touch on BritishMuslim.tv/support. And we will be getting some final thoughts from Warisa before we end the show. But please do be careful about dealing with this topic. And if you are triggered, please do get in touch. And hopefully we will continue with the last part of the show after the break. Please stay tuned, and we look forward to speaking with you then. Take care.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live. With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Single Muslim Live here on British Muslim TV, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com. We're having an amazing conversation with Warisa, who is really experienced in mental health, especially with regards to abuse. And tonight's topic is really, really triggering. And as I mentioned before the break, please do take care when listening to this program. And if you do need some sort of assistance, we are here to support you on BritishMuslim.tv/support. Before the break, Warisa, you were talking about no contact. What is the impact when there is no contact with the abuser, with the narcissist? Like, what can somebody expect when that happens?
So when you end your relationship with a narcissist, when you recognize the red flags and now you know that you're with the wrong person, you need to run. You need to leave. The best thing to do, and this is an advice given by all psychotherapists and counselors, is to go no contact. By no contact, I mean that you break contact on all levels, whether it's blocking their number, or blocking them on social media, changing your number if need be, changing your address.
But what if there's kids involved and there has to be some sort of contact with regards to that? I mean, it's not really realistic. How would you advise around that? Would there be a mediator or a family member instead then? How would you approach that?
So in cases of abuse or where you were in a relationship with a narcissist, it's best to involve a third party who can either, if there is a need, you can even take injunction against the perpetrator, because the safety and well-being of yourself and your child is of importance, of significance. So you wouldn't put yourself in a position where you know that this person is gonna go crazy, mad, and out of rage, they will do everything and anything to take you back, even if it means showing up at your door, because they tend to give crumbs. By crumbs, I mean that they have done something wrong, they have hit you, they've shouted at you, they've accused you of something, and then they'll maybe take you out for dinner or buy you a gift or, do something in just to get intimate so that you get confused. This is what trauma bonding is all about, that you form a trauma bond with the perpetrator and you find it difficult to leave them. But let me tell you something, Fahima, which is quite serious and shocking statistics, that every week in England, at least 2 to 3 females are killed by their partner. And the chances are highest when you leave the abuser, because it makes them really angry and furious because suddenly they have lost control over someone. So this is why going no contact is extremely important. And you have to surround yourself with your loved ones, friends, any support system that you can have at this stage. It's important to your road to self-recovery. And one of the greatest gifts that you can give yourself after escaping an abusive relationship, after going no contact with a narcissist, is to invest in self-discipline. By that, I mean that when you say no to them, you hold on to that. You don't go back, because often we see lots of women, they go back to their abusers, and then the cycle of abuse continues. So it
is a process. So when we're talking about now, no contact, escaping, and obviously, trying to hold on to a discipline, is that part of the healing, or is there something else that they could do in order to recover from being a victim of a narcissist abuser or a relationship?
So often we see, unfortunately, in the Muslim community that this narcissist might appear to be as a religious figure. Yeah, maybe an imam or a scholar, we don't know. And nobody's going to believe you. So when you'll go seeking Islamic khula or talaq, good luck, because that's going to be hell. And I'm not discouraging you. I'm just trying to give you the picture that this is what they are capable of doing. So going no contact has consequences. So there will be smear campaigns about you. They will assassinate your character. They will send flying monkeys, because you have blocked them from social media and emails and phone. So by flying monkeys, I mean they will send people who are mutual friends, mutual contacts, and they'll play the victim just so that they can come to you or come through someone else just to make you feel guilty or terrified of them. That, you know what, you think you've escaped? No, I'm watching you. I know where you are. I know what you're doing. So you have to be extremely careful. You have to surround yourself with people who love you unconditionally. It's important for your own healing. Learn to say no. Set healthy boundaries so that this never happens again. And don't form relationships straight away. You see this in people that once they come out of an abusive relationship or relationship with a narcissist, after a couple of weeks, they are with somebody else, thinking that it's going to help them. No, you have to do healing work. You have to do a lot of inner work. So to seek professional help from a counselor or a therapist or a narcissistic abuse recovery coach who will help you on this journey so you don't feel alone, because this is the time when you're going to experience things like migraines, adrenal fatigue. Some people even develop cancer. Some people even develop like long-term medical conditions as a result of the trauma they have experienced while living with this person. Sometimes there may be no physical abuse involved. There will be no scars or wounds, but the psychological scars and wounds that you have got as a result of living in this relationship, trying to make it work, is going to have a long-lasting impact on you and your children. This is why I highly recommend people to seek professional help so that you can heal and recover. And yes, it's possible to heal.
Well, it's possible to heal if you've been a victim, and the ones that are actually the perpetrators, we can only just pray for them. And you have highlighted so much already. Warisa, if anyone wants to get in contact with you, how would we do that? And also, could you give us some lasting words with regards to guidance? Because this is a very serious issue, and a lot of us only use that terminology thinking that that person is actually, just come out of a bad relationship, but it's so much more psychological involvement. And you've highlighted that so well. So what would you advise people when it comes to it? And even our community leaders, we're not geared up in the Muslim community to deal with something like this. What is it that we need to do in order to move forward so that our women, especially, as you said, the statistics are higher against women, and our future generations are going to have, a difference, and they're not going to repeat the cycle that they've seen or experienced? What would be your advice on that?
So I would say this to all my brothers and sisters out there who may be living with a narcissist. Don't allow a narcissist to hurt you, control you, or make you feel down in the dumps. Sometimes the best thing you can do is to turn away and laugh or just avoid them, because there is nothing you can do to change them. There is nothing you can do to make a dysfunctional relationship work. And what I've learned so far is that love doesn't leave bruises. And by bruises, I'm not just referring to physical ones, but psychological scars, hurt, feelings of pain and grief and loss. That is quite obvious when you're living with such a person, or when you leave such a person. You go through a form of trauma that is so severe that most people don't understand. And this is why, as a community, we need to be non-judgmental when somebody does make that decision to leave, instead of making them feel guilty or saying, oh, you should have done sabr or shown patience. We should really try to understand what they have been through and offer whatever we can to help and support them as a fellow believer. So this is my advice and my final words.
Well, we do have a little bit more time. When it comes to our leaders, I just want to address this first as well before we end, is that do you think they need to have some sort of education? Because I know you also give sort of training to scholars and to alims and things like that, because they may be well versed in the Quran, but the interpretation when it comes to, dealing as a counselor, we don't really have that in our Muslim community. And I think, counselors, coaches need to maybe coincide and work and collaborate alongside, the actual Islamic, leaders. What would be your advice on that?
So usually what happens, Fahima, is that if somebody is going through a difficult period in their life, or they're going through a problematic relationship, the first point of contact is usually their local imam or resident alim. So they'll go to their mosque or Islamic center or Sharia council, and they seek advice of the religious scholar, imam, or faith leader. Now, if the faith leader, community leader, is not well versed in mental health or abuse, they may not be able to provide the help that you're seeking. This is why it's important for community leaders and faith leaders to work in collaboration with mental health providers so that we can work together and support the local community, because this is on the rise. There is no denying. Abuse is happening, and it's happening closed doors, and you don't know, but your biggest enemy may be sleeping next to you. So in order to confide in someone, to approach someone and share your problems, it is itself quite a daunting process. And if the person who's listening to you tells you to go back and forgive and forget and start afresh, that's going to cause more harm than good, especially if you're being physically abused or emotionally abused, because it's going to affect your mental and physical health, and it's also going to put the safety and well-being of your children at risk. So it's very important for our mosques and our faith leaders to address this topic from the pulpit, because there is no issue that Islam hasn't addressed already. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given guidelines to how healthy relationships should be like, how you should treat your wife or your spouse, what you should do if you are being mistreated. So
I love that. I love that, Warisa. You have given us so much food for thought. You've given us so much insight in this topic, and you have been absolutely wonderful, a real gem on this topic today. And I hope that everybody has taken away what I have. And I honestly didn't want to interrupt you because of all the knowledge that you had to give us. And I am so grateful to have you tonight. Inshallah, we do stay in touch. And if anybody wants to get hold of Warisa, please do so. She's an amazing coach with regards to this. And thank you so much for being with us tonight, Warisa. Thank you all for listening in. And I hope, inshallah, that this has taken away some of the troubles that you may be going through today. But inshallah, we will be back with another topic, with another episode next week. Stay tuned. Thank you so much so far, and have a wonderful evening. Assalamu alaikum.